Welcome to the Fourth Branch program, the place for common sense. Today is June 6, 2019. I am MD. As usual, in segment 1, we will be reading the Mueller report, a portion of the Mueller report. We are reading from volume 1. How are you doing? Well, I hope today is a different day, is a better day. Every day, of course, we have to take it in stride. We have to figure out, is it going to be an okay day or not? Now, if you don't care about anything that's going on in the world, then every day is exactly the same. However, if you're a parent, if you have kids, if you aspire to the future, then you cannot just ignore what's going on around you. We always say the expression, no man is an island. It is true. We can actually extrapolate to that and say no country is an island. No matter how many resources, in fact, it seems for those who believe in God, that's the way that the Creator has structured the whole thing, to force people around the world, to force all the countries, all the different parts of the earth. Of course, there was a time there was no such thing as different parts of the world. There was just one earth. Well, there is still one, but you know what I meant. It wasn't split. There was one continent. But even the way that the earth is split, it forced the very event or events which split the earth, forced countries around the world to live together, to learn to live in harmony. Because if you notice how the resources are reported, you believe in a higher power, you would agree that someone must have made it that way. In any event, we will come back shortly after an announcement to talk a little bit about why we have a Mueller report, and we will read from the report. Now we are at the section where it says discussions about Russia travel by Michael Cohen or candidate Trump, at December 2015 to June 2016. Once again, you are on the Fourth Branch, the place for common sense. Live from New York City, at the top of the hour, every weekday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Fourth Branch presents discussions, debates, commentaries on social, political issues, current events, sports, entertainment, religion, education, science, and every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. for a full presentation on controversial issues such as abortion, homosexuality, war on blacks. Are Republicans dumber than Democrats? Information which might irritate you, make you cry, make you laugh, but above all, will make you smarter. Join us every time. It is the right thing to do. It is the only way to keep your sanity in a world of chaos, hypocrisy, immorality, and deception. Welcome to Common Sense. Once again, welcome to the Fourth Branch. If you join us for the first time, I welcome you. And let me say that this program that we called the Fourth Branch is not a political program, although we address political issues. but we address them with one ultimate objective: to perfect the union. But in order to do that, we have to remove the biggest obstacle that prevents that from happening. It's called ignorance. All men are born ignorant. No one is born a genius. All men. We learn to speak, we learn to say words that are taught to us by our parents. So, no. When we say ignorant, we're not talking about people who didn't necessarily go to school, people who didn't go to college. We're talking about the very fact that we are born ignorant. Now, even after we get an education, after we graduate college or however far we go into our studies, we still remain ignorant in some aspect, because we cannot possibly know everything. And what we don't know, or the topic or the aspect of what we don't know, would make us ignorant in that aspect. So the problem is not that we were all born ignorant. The problem is what we do about that. Some people choose to stay and live in ignorance. Yes, there are many such people. And we will, of course, debate that a little bit, maybe in the second segment. Some people do indeed choose to stay and live in ignorance. It is said that there are two categories of people in the world, or rather two categories of fools in the world. There are those who cannot change, and there are those who will not change. That is a dilemma, isn't it? Which one would you prefer to be? Well, which one would you choose? In conversation, what I would call philosophical debate, argument with my father, we always pretty much touch on every aspect of human life. But we usually do the conversation on a philosophical aspect. Always try to understand the human species evolution, the human mind, how it is shaped, and even try to understand, even up to this point, I'm still puzzled by certain things that certain people do, and they justify it. That's one. And second, when they actually continue to do it, to justify it, even when presented with evidence that they are in the wrong. Currently, there are information being circulated in social media about the aspect of the Trump administration, at that time the Trump campaign, that had accepted to take to accept help from a foreign entity. You may recall that when this conversation first started, it was, we have absolutely nothing to do with Russia. Now, if you are following the process by which this argument has evolved, if you are an American, and that's why we ask, are you a patriot? No one is born a patriot, by the way, because it seems that there is also a confusion that if you are born an American, you're automatically a patriot. You are not. And this confusion is mostly found in the circle of the Republicans. They think just because they are American, they are patriot. Being born American doesn't make anyone a patriot. We'll get to that. So there is this rumor going on in social media, and it mostly due to misinformation that are being propagated mostly by places like Fox, but it's not just Fox. Fox happens to be the largest network doing that. But if you recall, when during the time that Robert Mueller was conducting the investigation, the argument, the pushback against the fact that Donald Trump was in bed with Russia, that argument has moved. The post has moved from "I have absolutely nothing to do with Russia" to "Yes, we sat down with Russia, but we were talking about adoption," to "Yes, we did get some information from Russia, but hey, what the hell? Everybody does that," to "Well, it's not a crime to get information from a foreign entity," to now hearing Donald Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani saying, "Hey, that's perfectly okay. You see, Robert Mueller said we couldn't find any evidence." There are two categories of fools in the world: those who cannot change and those who will not change. Both of them are dangerous for our society. Ignorance, as I mentioned, we are all born ignorant. There are those who choose to stay and live in ignorance. And those are one category of fools you don't want to cross path with. Because the logical human being, when you make a mistake, you recognize the mistake and you correct the mistake. In fact, sometimes you're so ashamed of it, then you move so far away from the mistake, then nobody would ever know that you made a mistake. But it seems, at least conversation that I had with a few of my fellow Republicans, that they don't have any such shame. They actually do not just double down on the mistake that they made, but now in social media there is this rumors going on. They say, well, Democrats would have done the same thing. Now they're talking about maybe Bernie Sanders should accept help from China. Maybe Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden should accept help from China, from Iran. Now, I don't know if you're following this warped mindset of the Republican. They not only prove beyond a shadow of a doubt they are no patriot, and instead of accepting and admitting to the fact that they made a mistake about a man who has been destroying every aspect of our democracy and shredding our constitution, now they're making excuses and say, well, it was okay. Now, one individual in particular say, well, yeah, Russia may have done all this and that, but we are free, we made up our own mind. And as I mentioned before here, no, you weren't free and you didn't make up your own mind. Russia made up your mind for you. Russia hacked into the brains of the Republican. And now you may not want to admit it, but when you are bombarded with information to make you think a certain way, you didn't make up your mind. Yes, you go to the poll and you vote for Donald Trump. If that's what you call make up your mind, maybe. But Russia made up your mind for you. According to the Mueller report, Facebook alone, more than 122 million people received messages from Russia in terms of framing the election in the United States. And all the messages about Trump were favorable. All the messages about Hillary Clinton were disparaging. So no, you weren't free to make up your mind. Russia made up your mind for you. Now, Russia couldn't go to the poll for you, so you did that. Granted. Now, this is the only part you can claim to have done on your own. Now, for those people who stay at home, even those people cannot claim they made up their mind to stay at home, because those people made up their mind to stay at home based on a lot of disparaging information that Russia put out there, and they were so disgusted by Hillary Clinton and they wouldn't vote for Donald Trump, so they stay at home. So even those people who stay at home Russia made up their mind. They didn't make up their own mind. So the idea that you made up your mind, you voted for Donald Trump, Russia didn't do that, that makes you feel good, that's fine. But no, you didn't make up your mind. You did a lot of things. You consumed a lot of the information that Russia put out there. In fact, Russia was so good at putting the information out there, they had the media picked up on those information to report it as if it is known. So no, Republican who voted for Trump, you didn't make up your mind. Russia hacked into your brain and made up your mind for you. So having said that, now the rumors have to do with the fact that Democrats would have done the same thing if they get help. Now, let me say this, but it is something that I will address in more depth, in more detail in writing, because Republicans always claim to have core values. They always claim that a lot of my fellow Republicans, and I heard the conversation, they would never vote for Democrat because Democrats are liberal. They're for LGBT, they are for abortion, and so on. They give you a list of, and they have core values. And ironically, the thing that requires for them to exercise core value like patriotism, this is what they throw away. They accepted help to collaborate with a foreign entity. How is that for core values? How is that for patriotism? But let me point out very clearly the following. No Democrat would not accept help from foreign entity. And I know that for a fact, and I'm going to give you a few pointers. 3 times, not one, not twice, 3 times, Russia approached Democrats in the past. And as I mentioned, I will watch for my publication on the peoplebranch.org, peoplebranch.org. Watch for my publication there, where I will clearly provide this information to show you that Democrats were approached 3 times. Democrat candidate, and at some point they even show you that there was a Democrat candidate for president who had a conversation with a Russian diplomat counterpart who was trying to be subtle and offering that help. Didn't accept. 3 times. No Democrat would not. So despite the fact that Republicans get on their high horses and pretend to have so many core values, but they prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're okay to sleep with the enemy. Not only they okay, they justify it. Now they trying to legitimize the idea of an American candidate for president accepting to be in bed with a foreign enemy to be okay, because now the argument Democrat would have accepted it too. No, Democrat would have not. 3 times Russia, the same country, Russia approached Democrat. Democrats said no, thank you, no, thank you. 3 times. Now there was one last time, not Russia this time, that dirt was offered to a Democrat candidate. That's more recently was offered to a Democrat candidate. You know what candidate did? He forwarded the document and the information to FBI. So yes, Republicans, no matter how, I don't know what core values mean to you, but when it comes to Democrats have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are indeed patriots. So it's not just in words that they say that. They prove it in their action. So Republican core values that they always claim they like, they love label, they patriot, they Christian conservative, they fiscally conservative. Those are nice labels. And for as long as we can remember, Republicans have been falling for those labels, and yet their action prove just the opposite. So to those who are spreading the rumors that Democrats would have accepted help, I know categorically that Democrats would not, because despite all that Republicans have been saying about Democrats have proven not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times to be patriots. So they did the right thing. Republican, at the first instance of a foreign entity saying, I have done, all right, I love it. No, Republicans, you cannot make that and put it on Democrats, because Democrats have proven that they would not do something that would damage the United States of America. So that's something that's exclusively on the Republicans. Now, it was a mistake that you made. It's okay that you made a mistake, but it is time that you recognize that you made a mistake. Now, justifying it and not trying to make the argument that Democrat would have done it, that's an argument you already lost, because Democrats proved 4 times that they would not do any such thing, because they realized this is not good for the United States of America. This is not good for democracy, and it is not good for a democracy to accept a foreign entity to give them help to fight a candidate in the country. So now that battle you lost. Again, watch out for my publication, which will be on the peoplebranch.org, in which I will detail what I just mentioned to you with link and proof and proof that all those that I just mentioned to you is not just some damn liberal that's talking to you about those things. You have made a mistake. That's no doubt about it. It is time now to accept that you made a mistake. This is how human beings evolve. This is how human beings progress. You made a mistake, you recognize the mistake, and you strive to do better. Otherwise, you cannot really claim that you belong to the human species. Evolution is necessary for anyone to claim to be in the human species. Failure to be able to go in that, to evolve, make that individual not part of the human species. Republicans, fellow Republicans, you made a mistake. That is as clear as it can be. You made a terrible mistake. You accepted to vote in office an individual who had slept with United States #1 enemy, Russia. So you made a mistake to vote for that person. Now, the mistake is not completely yours because your brain was hot. And you made a mistake. There is no if and but about it. This is not a time for you to try to find excuses and say Democrat would have done the same thing. No, Democrat would have not done the same thing, because they were offered the same opportunity 3 times, and all 3 times they refused. And 1 time was domestic, they also refused. So no, Democrats would not have done the same thing. So Democrats have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt they are patriot. Are you? If you are a patriot, you cannot not be outraged. Because this is not a matter of being Democrat or being Republican. Because the very reason that our democracy survives is because of that very structure of our government. The minute that you don't have any oversight, then at that point, the idea of democracy in the United States of America ceases to exist. So if you are a Republican and you think it's okay, then you too are no patriot. There is no other word of saying it. No matter what you hear people saying, trying to sugarcoat, trying to go around to explain it to you, that's all it means. If you are okay with what is currently going on with Donald Trump, with the Republican Party, you categorically
are not a patriot. And no matter what you think of yourself, you are not a patriot. Because a patriot is someone who would give or who makes sacrifice sometimes of his or her own life, let alone sacrifice a political party in order to preserve the democracy, in order to preserve the Constitution, in order to preserve the rule of law. So if you cannot do that, don't talk to anyone about being patriot, because you are no patriot.
But you can become a patriot. As I mentioned, no one is born a patriot. You born an American citizen, but you are not born a patriot, or you become an American citizen. A patriot requires sacrifice. It's never easy being a patriot. You have to sacrifice something. And at this time, your beloved president has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is no patriot. So it's time that if you want to be among the patriots, you ought to recognize that you made a mistake. You now owning up to your mistake and you changing course. If you cannot do that, stop telling people that you are a patriot, because you are not. Now back to the reading of the Mueller report. Discussions about Russia travel by Michael Cohen or candidate Trump, December 2015 to June 2016. Senators overtures to Cohen to travel to Russia. The late January communication was neither the first nor the last time that Cohen contemplated visiting Russia in pursuit of the Trump-Moscow project. Beginning in late 2015, Senator repeatedly tried to arrange for Cohen and candidate Trump as representative of the Trump organization to travel to Russia to meet with Russian government officials and possible financing partners. In December of 2015, Senator sent Cohen a number of emails about logistics for traveling to Russia for meetings. On December 19, 2015, Senator wrote, "Please call me. I have Evgeny Devoskin on the other line. He needs a copy of your and Donald Trump passport. They need a scan of every page of the passport. Invitation and visa will be issued this week by VTB Bank to discuss financing for Trump Tower, Moscow." Politically, neither Putin office nor Ministry of Foreign Affairs cannot issue invite. So they are inviting commercially, business. You understand. VTB is Russia's second biggest bank, and VTB Bank CEO Andriy Kostin will be at all meeting with Putin, so that it is a business meeting, not political. We will be invited to Russian consulate this week to receive invite and have visa issued. In response, Cohen texted Senator an image of his own passport. Cohen told the office that at one point he requested a copy of candidate Trump passport from Rona Graf, Trump's executive assistant at the Trump organization. Graf later brought Trump passport to Cohen's office. The investigation did not, however, establish the passport was forwarded to Senator. Into the spring of 2016, Sater and Cohen continued to discuss a trip to Moscow in connection with the Trump Moscow project. On April 20th, 2016, Sater wrote Cohen, quote, "Wanted to know when you are coming." On May 4th, 2016, Sater followed up. "I had a chat with Moscow, assuming," in capital letter, "assuming the trip does happen, the question is before or after the convention. I said I believe but don't know for sure that it is probably after the convention. Obviously, the pre-meeting trip you only can happen anytime you want, but the two big guys were sick. The question, I said I would confirm and revert. Let me know about if I was right by saying I believe after Cleveland, and also when you want to speak to them and possibly fly over." Cohen responded, "My trip before Cleveland, Trump once he becomes the nominee after the convention." The day after this exchange, Sater tied Cohen's travel to Russia to the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, an annual event attended by prominent Russian politicians and businessmen. Sater told the office that he was informed by a business associate that Peskov wanted to invite Cohen to the forum. On May 5th, 2016, Sater wrote to Cohen, "Peskov would like to invite you as his guest to the St. Petersburg Forum, which is Russia's Davos. It's June 16 to June 19. He wants to meet there with you and possibly introduce you to either Putin or Medvedev, as they are not sure if I or both will be there. Or they're not sure if one or both will be there. This is perfect. The entire business class of Russia will be there as well." He said anything you want to discuss, including dates and subject, are on the table to discuss. The following day, Sater asked Cohen to confirm those dates would work for him to travel. Cohen wrote back, quote, "Works for me." It is a reminder to you listening to this that those are in the Mueller report, but they are quotes from actual email between Cohen and Sater. You may not recall, but Sater is the individual who is trying to establish the connection between the Trump administration and the Trump team, rather, at that time for the Trump Moscow project in Russia. So Sater is kind of the bridge, the go-to guy. On June 9, 2016, Sater sent Cohen a notice that he, Sater, was completing the badges for the forum, adding, "Putin is there on the 17th, very strong chance you will meet him as well." On June 13, 2016, Sater forwarded Cohen an invitation to the forum signed by the director of the Rus Congress Foundation, the Russian entity organizing the forum. Sater also sent Cohen a Russian visa application and asked him to send 2 passport photos. According to Cohen, the invitation gave no indication that Peskov had been involved in inviting him. Cohen was concerned that Russian officials were not actually involved or were not interested in meeting with him, as Sater had alleged. And so he decided not to go to the forum. On June 14, 2016, Cohen met Sater in the lobby of the Trump Tower in New York and informed him that he would not be traveling at that time. Item number 2, candidate Trump opportunity to travel to Russia. Are you a patriot? The investigation identified evidence that during the period the Trump Moscow project was under consideration, the possibility of candidate Trump visiting Russia arose in 2 contexts. First, in interviews with the office, Cohen stated that he discussed the subject of traveling to Russia with Trump twice, once in late 2015 and again in spring 2016. According to Cohen, Trump indicated a willingness to travel if it would assist the project significantly. On one occasion, Trump told Cohen to speak with then campaign manager Corey Lewandowski to coordinate the candidate's schedule. Cohen recalled that he spoke with Lewandowski, who suggested that they speak again when Cohen had actual dates to evaluate. Cohen indicated, however, that he knew that travel prior to the Republican National Convention would be impossible given the candidate's pre-existing commitment to the campaign. Second, like Cohen, Trump received and turned down an invitation to the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. In late December 2015, Mira Duma, a contact of Ivanka Trump from the fashion industry, first passed along an invitation for Ivanka Trump and candidate Trump from Sergei Prikhodotko, a deputy prime minister of the Russian Federation. I told you, by the time I'm finished with the Mueller report, I will be speaking Russian. On January 14, 2016, Rona Grass sent an email to Duma stating that Trump was honored to be asked to participate in the highly prestigious forum event, but that he would have to decline the invitation given his very grueling and full travel schedule as a presidential candidate. Graf asked Duma whether she recommended that Graf send a formal note to the deputy prime minister declining his invitation. Duma replied that a formal note would be great. It does not appear that Graf prepared that note immediately. According to written answers from President Trump, Graf received an email from Deputy Prime Minister Prikhodotko on March 17, 2016, again inviting Trump to participate in the 2016 forum in St. Petersburg. 2 weeks later, on March 31, 2016, Graf prepared for Trump's signature a 2-paragraph letter declining the invitation. The letter stated that Trump's schedule has become extremely demanding because of the presidential campaign and that he already had several commitments in the United States for the time of the forum. but that he otherwise would have gladly given every consideration to attending such an important event. Graf forwarded the letter to another executive assistant at the Trump organization with instruction to print the document on letterhead for Trump to sign. At approximately the same time that the letter was being prepared, Robert Forsman, a New York-based investment banker, began reacting out to Graf to secure an in-person meeting with candidate Trump. According to Forsman, he had been asked by Anton Kobyakov, a Russian presidential aide involved with the World Congress Foundation, to see if Trump could speak at the forum. Forsman first emailed Graf on March 31, 2016, following a phone introduction brokered through Trump business associate Mark Bernard, who produced the television show The Apprentice. In his email, Forsman referenced his long-standing personal and professional expertise in Russia and Ukraine, his work setting up an early private channel between Vladimir Putin and former US President George W. Bush, and an approach he had received from senior Kremlin officials about the candidate. Forsman asked Graf for a meeting with the candidate, Corey Lewandowski, or another relevant person to discuss this and other concrete things. Forsman felt uncomfortable discussing over unsecured email. On April 4, 2016, Graf forwarded Forsman meeting request to Jessica Macchia, another executive assistant to Trump. With no response forthcoming, Forsman twice sent reminders to Graf, first on April 26 and again on April 30th, 2016. Graf sent an apology to Forsman and forwarded his April 2016 email as well as initial March 2016 email to Lewandowski. On May 2nd, 2016, Graf forwarded Forsman April 30th email which suggested an alternative meeting with Donald Trump Jr. or Eric Trump so that Forsman could convey to them information that should be conveyed to the candidate personally or to someone the candidate absolutely trusts, to policy advisor Stephen Mueller. No communication or other evidence obtained by the office indicate that the Trump campaign learned that Forsman was reaching out to invite the candidate to the forum or that the campaign otherwise followed up with Forsman until after the election, when he interacted with the transition team as he pursued a possible position in the incoming administration. When interviewed by the office, Forsman denied that the specifics approach from senior Kremlin official noted in his March 31, 2016 email was anything other than Kobyakov's invitation to Rus Congress, which is the forum. According to Forsman, the concrete things he referenced in the same email were a combination of the invitation itself, Forsman's personal perspective on the invitation and Russia policy in general, and details of a Ukraine plan supported by a U.S. think tank, East-West Institute. Forsman told the office that Kobyakov had extended similar invitation through him to another Republican presidential candidate and other politicians. Forsman also said that Kobyakov had asked Forsman to invite Trump to speak after that other presidential candidate withdrew from the race and the other politician participation did not work out. Finally, Forsman claimed to have no plan to establish a back channel involving Trump, stating the reference to his involvement in the Bush-Putin back channel was meant to burnish his credential to the campaign. Forsman commented that he had not recognized any of the experts announced as Trump foreign policy team in March 2016 and wanted to secure an in-person meeting with the candidate to share his professional background and policy views, including that Trump should decline Kobyakov's invitation to speak at the forum. We will continue the reading of the Mueller report tomorrow in the first segment. We'd like to remind you that the Mueller report is not a normal report. It is not a report that's produced for everyone who becomes a president of the United States, but rather a very extraordinary report which provides information about a candidate who not only has gone out of his way to cultivate, to nurture relationship with a foreign entity, but also has surrounded himself with many individuals, close to almost 100 individuals with connection with a foreign entity to help his administration, to help his thing. This is unprecedented, and it is not normal, it is not acceptable. But for those who continue to normalize it, to legitimize it, and to even defend it by suggesting that Democrats would have done the same thing, as I mentioned at the top of the program, that I am really 100% certain that Democrats would not have accepted help from a foreign entity. And I know that because in 3 occasions, they refused and rejected overtures from the same country that Donald Trump administration has accepted and cultivated interest in accepting help from. So no, Democrat would not have accepted help from a foreign entity because Democrats know it is unpatriotic to do so. So as such, to my fellow Republicans who continue to advance ideas, rumors, and to defend Donald Trump for doing the most egregious thing, which is to undermine our democracy and to shred our Constitution, I said, shame on you, but then again, you don't have any shame because you continue to support the same individual even after learning what he has done. Which level is too low for the Republicans who support Donald Trump? Which level is much too low for the President of the United States? It seems that redeeming the country from where it has fallen is up to the Democrat. The very party the Republicans always sneer at, the very party the Republicans always believe that they're superior to because they have core values. And yet, that same party proves beyond a reasonable doubt it is the party that is the party of the people, the party that is fighting to defend our Constitution, the party that is fighting to redeem our country and to restore our democracy. Are you a patriot?
If you are a patriot, you cannot not be outraged. Because this is not a matter of being Democrat or being Republican. Because the very reason that our democracy survives is because of that very structure of our government. The minute that you don't have any oversight, then at that point, the idea of democracy in the United States of America ceases to exist. So if you are a Republican and you think it's okay, then you too are no patriot. There is no other word of saying it. No matter what you hear people saying, trying to sugarcoat, trying to go around to explain it to you, that's all it means. If you are okay with what is currently going on with Donald Trump, with the Republican Party, you categorically are not a patriot. And no matter what you think of yourself, you are not a patriot. Because a patriot is someone who would give up, who would make sacrifice sometimes of his or her own life, let alone sacrifice a political party in order to preserve the democracy, in order to preserve the Constitution, in order to preserve the rule of law. So if you cannot do that, don't talk to anyone about being patriot, because you are no patriot. That was an update through the prism of common sense. Join us again at the top of the hour. I am MD, host of the Fourth Branch program, the place for common sense. Send us comments, criticism, suggestion, or simply let us know how we're doing. Thank you for watching. See you in just a bit.
The Fourth Branch podcast is brought to you in collaboration with the People Branch publication, which can be found on the People Branch website, located at peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org website, in which you will find a number of very interesting articles. My name is Mike Duchesne, MD for short. I hope you have a great afternoon or a great evening, whichever it happens to be. Hopefully you can join me again next time for another interesting episode of this podcast. That was the Fourth Branch, live from New York. Good day.